My dear brothers and sisters, the love and blessings of the Mother and Sri Aurobindo to all of you from Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Delhi branch. Today's conversation is titled Love and Empathy in Higher Education. And I have with me Dr. Arpita Lal, who is now on the faculty of the Central Connecticut State University at New Britain, Connecticut, in the US. And she's joined there recently, but till recently, for the last 7 years, she had been on the faculty of the Chapman University. She's a specialist in marriage and family therapy, and that is what she teaches in this university, and has been teaching earlier in other universities, including the Chapman University, for 7 years. This conversation and the courses and talks that we have been having under the Yes title are a part of the 150th birth anniversary celebrations of Sri Aurobindo and the 75th anniversary of India's independence. There's a general impression that in school teaching, the most important thing is that the teacher should love her students. And besides that, she should love teaching. She should know how to teach. And she should know the subject that she has to teach. And these four requirements are in that order. The importance of these is in that order, which means the most important thing is that she should love her students. And on the other hand, it is also commonly believed that when it comes to higher education, it is the knowledge of the subject that the teacher has, which is what makes all the difference, and that is what is most important. By then, the students have the need for love from the teacher. But Arpita was sharing with me a few days back that although loving and caring for students comes naturally to her, she had not realized its value till she moved from the Chapman University in the Los Angeles area to Connecticut recently. Because when she received the farewell from her students at the Chapman University, then some of the feedback that she got in those farewells, the cards that she received, the gifts that she received, made her realize how much her love and concern for the students was being appreciated by them, and that in some ways had been to them more significant than the knowledge that they had received from her. So, Arpita, now would you like to elaborate a bit on the discovery that you made when you left the university, the Chapman University, and joined this new university in Connecticut?
Yes, sure. To just elaborate on what you just mentioned, when I left Chapman University, one of my students wrote in a card that they gave me that from others, something that they had received that was really important was knowledge related to the field. But something that they had learned from me was really how to love their clients. And that seemed to be the most important aspect that I had been able to transmit to my student through my teaching. So that is definitely very much in line with what you were just talking about.
What is the most important thing you found which ensured this sort of a rapport between you and the students, and they're realizing the value of your loving the students, and the student, when the student in a professional role, loving the client?
There are a few things that I feel are extremely significant. One is that for me, putting the student as a person comes well before their value as a student. So look at them as a person, as a human being, and value them as a human being. And to illustrate that, something that's really important for me at the beginning when I start to teach a set of students, it is to learn their names and to be able to address my student by their name, and to, when they raise their hands in class, to be able to give personalized attention and them out by their name is very important. And for that, I make an effort on the very first day of class to try and learn all their names. And now, having taught for about 10 years, it has become easier for me to learn the names of most of the students on the very first day. And I, as I repeat their names and I'm able to show that that's really important for me, they actually are, they clap and are able to make me feel that that's something that makes them really happy.
So sort of you set up a test for yourselves. I asked your names. Let me see how many I remember. And when you pass the test, the students clap. That's what.
Yes, yes. And along with that, also being able to convey that I'm really genuinely interested in them, I truly care for them, and I have their best interest at heart. That is something that I repeatedly receive in the feedback that students write for me at the end of the courses that they take from me.
Anything else you think is important which you do to make the students feel more at home with you and to share their life with you and so on?
One other aspect that I have started to do over the years is to also share more about my own life and my life experiences with my students and my journey as I have continued to grow as a person and a professional. And I allow myself to be more vulnerable in that process as I share with my students. And I also don't shy away from accepting responsibility for mistakes that I may have made, whether it was mistakes related to something to do with the students or elsewhere. I'm able to talk to them about it. I'm able to apologize for things that I may not have done right, even when it concerns the students too. And so with that, I am engaging in appropriate self-disclosure, sharing, and the purpose of really doing that is not to make them feel like they need to meet any needs of mine or that they need to uh, feel sorry for maybe some of the experiences that I may have had in my life. But it's actually to help them to feel more comfortable, feeling more vulnerable, and for them to be more comfortable in their own sharing, which very often students, when they're younger, may have a hard time with. So, my doing that helps them to also feel more encouraged to be able to do that for themselves. And another thing that I have often noticed when students are young and they join a course like the marriage and family therapy program, they sometimes feel that they're the only ones maybe who have had a really difficult life, and others may not be able to really understand where they're coming from or may not have had similar experiences. But as I share my experiences with them, they realize that they're not the only ones, so that there are others in the same boat, and that one of their teachers also is someone who has had experiences that they may be able to relate to some extent.
So the purpose is not that you are trying to ventilate and feel better by sharing those things, but making them feel that sharing is okay in a safe environment and that they are not the only ones, because many students who join the psychology courses have been inspired to do so by problems in their own life or what they've observed around them in their close relationships. That's what inspires them to join a course in psychology. But then they feel that it is only a limited number of unfortunate people who have these problems. But by the teacher herself disclosing some of these things, they feel that this is a common and general problem, and that when there is a need, then one can share with the right people the details of their life, both to feel better and to get a better insight into their problems. So that is quite okay.
Exactly.
So, sort of, you create a very safe and trusting environment for the student in which they feel quite open with you, they feel quite at ease sharing your life with you if they feel the necessity, if they feel whether it is to ventilate or just to get a better insight into their problems. They feel that this is one person who is always there available to us, she's always there for us.
Definitely. Yes. And along with that, though, I would say that having created that safe and trusting environment, it may people may kind of assume that uh, I'm always very, very uh, nice to my students, and that I may shy away from challenging them when it's important, but that's not the case. It's important, I believe, to help them to feel understood and supported, and also, yet at the same time, to not shy away from challenging the students when it is necessary to do so.
Can you give an example of how and when you challenge the students?
Sure. So, some of the situations in which I have found myself challenging the students, one is often students, especially that come into the field of therapy, may have learned to intellectualize problems, and they may find it hard to get in touch with the more emotional or vulnerable side of themselves, or they may find it difficult to sit in that state of discomfort. So, in supervision, especially when they're training to become therapists and they're starting to see clients on their own, I find myself challenging them to get in touch with this more emotional and vulnerable side of themselves. There's also this misconception that if individuals get in touch with that emotional side, that they're also displaying some weakness. But I highlight that there's actually courage that's required in being more vulnerable. So I highlight that for my students, and actually point out that they're being courageous when they learn to take risks and allow themselves to be more vulnerable. Uh, Another reason because of which I find myself challenging my students is when I act uh, in the role of a gatekeeper. So it's important that students that graduate from the program are competent and practice in an ethical manner, and also are professional in their behavior with colleagues and clients. And when I find that students maybe are falling short in those areas in some ways, because I've created a trusting and safe environment, I'm also able to challenge those students in order to help them to grow. And whether it is with written assignments and asking them to redo some of their work, which helps them to understand what they are writing and learning to a better extent. And then they turn in a product that's better. The revised product that they turn in is better than what they had turned in initially. Or sometimes it may be challenging them when it comes to areas related to more professional behavior. And students on the whole are grateful and appreciate and are able to learn and grow from those experiences and interactions with me.
So essentially, it boils down to a genuine and sincere concern for the students, love for the students, and keeping their best interests at heart. It's a sort of sincerity which is required. It's the type of behavior that the teacher cannot put on. If it comes from the heart of the teacher, then the students know it, and not only they appreciate it, they also benefit from it as human beings first, and also as the type of professionals that they would graduate into. So thank you, Arpita, for bringing the warmth of love from freezing Connecticut to freezing Delhi. I don't know where you picked up that warmth from, but we all enjoyed having you here, and we wish that you continue this journey with the students and keep spreading this message of love and warmth to more and more students in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. My pleasure.